1984년 11월 14일입니다. 경남 통영에서 태어난 문정현, 세라진 셀미넌 씨는 어머니의 이름을 이미 알고 있습니다. 공장에서 노동자로 일했던 정현 씨 어머니는 당시 미혼의 상태였고요. 정현이를 낳자마자 키울 자신이 없어서 결국 입양의 길을 택하게 됩니다. 태어난 지 5개월 만에 문정현 씨는 미국행 비행기를 타게 되죠. 이제는 한국 음악과 한국어를 열심히 배우고 있다는 문정현 씨는 2019년, 3년 전이네요. 한국을 방문했고 최근 또다시 한국을 방문해 경남 통영에 있는 많은 이웃들과 어르신들의 도움으로 어머니 찾기에 열중하고 있다고 합니다. 자, 그의 경험을 들어보면 저희에게도 또 같은 한인 입양인들에게도 유익한 점들이 있을 것 같아 문정현 씨의 이야기가 오늘 매우 궁금해지는데요. 뉴욕에 있는 문정현 씨를 화상으로 만나봅니다. 문정현 씨 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
네. 한국에 잘 갔다 왔어요?
한국말 못해요.
알겠습니다. All those paperworks and pictures, I kind of figured out who you are, where you come from, all the things. But to our viewers, please introduce yourself briefly.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 전합니다. 통영에서 태어났어요. I'm 37 years old, and currently I live in Tonawanda, New York, which is close to Niagara Falls or Buffalo, New York. 오개월 때 미국으로 입양됐어요. During the COVID pandemic, I tried really hard to study Korean. I wanted to, at some point, hopefully meet some family someday, and I think you had talked about that. I'm from Tongyeong, and I just came back from Korea. I spent about 5 weeks over there in summer. For my day job, I'm a committee on special ed chairperson, so I run meetings for special education for school-age children. I was a classroom teacher for several years in special education. And then in my free time, some of the things I really like doing, I like acting, I like travel, I like spending time with friends, and you know, I really did spend a lot of time studying Korean, but when it comes to talking, it's just so hard. It's so hard. If I could just write you all my responses, I'd probably do way better.
Okay. I saw some of the documents you sent us, and also what are the circumstances. Please tell our viewers, as far as you know, based on all those documents, what really happened before and right after you were born, 1984?
So as far as what I know from the documents are, you know, my birth mother, she was not married from what my documents had said. So she gave birth to me at Ilshin Maternity Clinic, which is in Tongyeong. Back then it wasn't called Tongyeong, but now modern day it is. And then she had given me up for adoption pretty much right after birth. And then, you know, some time had passed and I was given to the agency Eastern Social Welfare. And then my American parents adopted me and I came here just before about 5 months old.
I see. Sorry to ask you this again, but does it say, or did she say anywhere the reason why she gave up on you?
So it doesn't say for sure, but it does say that she was an unmarried woman at that time. And I know that, you know, in Korea, like it was not common for single mothers to have children on their own. I've watched a lot of documentaries about that, and I know that it's very hard. And even still, I think it is difficult, but I think back in the 80s, it was much more so.
I see. I read a pre-flight report, English and Korean. It does say about your mom and dad back in the days. Could you kind of describe that in your words, your mom and dad?
So I do know that my mom, she was about 22 when she had me. Now, again, I don't know if that's international age or if that's Korean age. And I know that she had a middle school education and that she worked in a factory. Unfortunately, there weren't really any documents left about my dad in my history. So we don't really have much information about him. We know that my mom was I think she was about 160 centimeters at that time. And I think somewhere in there it said that she was plain, like she was more of a plain woman. But that's pretty much it. We don't have a ton of information. We do have a name, but we don't have, I know when I went back to like Korea like 3 years ago, they had said that I would need like her actual birth date to run a search in the registry.
I see. Well, as far as I know, and you mentioned that her name is Munjong-suk. Am I right? And also the as long as the documents and DOB is accurate, she must be 59 or 60 somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I see. So now I have a beautiful pictures that when you were born, and also foster mom, I believe. And,
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, JFK International Airport.
Yeah,
Am I
that's the
right?
airport.
Okay, mom and
Yeah.
dad.
Oh
Such
no,
a-
that's actually my aunt. That's not
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's my adopted mom in that
Oh,
picture.
okay, got it. Just such a beautiful pictures, grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
And also briefly mentioned that your brother is also adopted from Korea, right?
Yeah, so my brother was also adopted too. He right now he lives in Irvine, California.
I see.
Oh, that's high school.
Okay. So what was it like growing up here in the United States, based on your own experience? Tell us.
I think growing up in America, I didn't really know any different. My parents, they raised me very American. There weren't a lot of Asian people in our neighborhood. There were some, but not like adoptees like my brother and I. I feel like the school that we went to mostly was like, Caucasian people,
I see.
which I think is pretty common when I talk to a lot of other adoptees. There was a little bit of racism. I think my parents didn't really understand that because, they don't understand what it's like to be Asian. But I think for the most part, they tried the best they could with like, the knowledge and information that they had. And then as I got older, I think I really wanted to start, learning more about where I come from.
Are they pretty healthy and doing fine?
Yeah, they're doing okay. They're both retired right now.
I see. Wonderful. Now your son, 35 or 37. You said 37 years old now. When was the time? Did there come a time that you realized that, oh, I need to find my family over there in Seoul? When was it, and how did that came upon?
I think as I started to get into my 30s, that's when I started really thinking about like, where do I come from? And I started kind of worrying about some genetics. I know as my American parents get older, sometimes like things happen to them, and I wonder like, what's my history? What's my medical history? And I don't have any of that information. In addition, I think like as I've gotten older, I've seen like some friends, they have kids, and you start to see like different traits that they share in common. And I also would like to see that because I've seen documentaries where people will go back and they'll meet family members and they're like, we both have this mannerism, we both do this, and they had never even been together in like 30 plus
you
years.
Got that right. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I have a bunch of pictures to your recent trip to Tongyang and Seoul. I believe you said this nice, lovely restaurant or cafe in Goje, I believe, right? And
Yeah.
these wonderful friends. You shared the jjajangmyeon with them. All these beautiful people over there. I know it's a long story short, but how would you kind of summarize your trip to Tongyang this summer, please?
It's so hard when people say, how was Korea? I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you in less than like 500 words. So it was really emotional. It was really interesting. I felt really bonded with the Korean people. Never in my life did I think that so many Korean natives would come together just to help me. My one language partner, I'll call her Vicky because that's what she calls herself with her English name. She's phenomenal. She let my friend and I stay in her house. she took my friend and I and her 6-year-old daughter on a bus for 4 hours from Suwon
Okay.
to Tongyong to try to help me with my searching. Obviously, my Korean is not that good. So she's been studying English for 30 years, so her English is amazing.
Wow.
And then the next day, there's just so many things that happened. The next day, she took me to this building where a bunch of like ladies were sitting on the ground. They were peeling onions, and we were just asking them questions because they were like older, and it was like an area where moons were from. So we were asking them if they knew who my mom was. And then what else did she do? She just did so much. And then somehow she ended up actually with my birth mom's number, this woman that we think is my birth mom, who has her name. And she had called her and she had said, you know, your daughter's in Korea and she's looking for you. And she had asked her, you know, did you have a baby at this time? And at first she had denied it. You know, it's been 37 years.
Oh, yeah.
But then she's texted her like some pictures of me, and she said that this woman went silent on the phone. And then there's another gentleman who knows her who said that we share similar facial features. So I don't know. Hopefully, if this woman is my birth mom, that she'll like come around someday. But I know it's a lot, and I know that it's overwhelming.
That was amazing. I'm so glad that you got all this help from these people over there in Tongyang, and you were happy all the way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like everything was surreal and a dream. Like never in a million years did I think all of these
like a dream.
People.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were just calling people. I mean, there were so many other people that, you know, were not as significant, but just like, you know, from someone who was calling to another person, it's like, oh, I'll call my friend. Oh, I'll call my uncle.
Okay, so Sarah, let's say everything worked out perfect and all this help that these elder people and the neighbors over there in the Tongyang and Geje, everything's worked out, went smooth. Now you finally sit down at a table with your mom. What are the things that you want to tell her, please?
Well, I'm assuming that my mom does not speak English because I know some of the older people I met in Korea did not speak English well. So I did want to send her a message in Korean.
Okay.
So I have to read it though, because, you know, I didn't memorize
Take
it.
Your time.
I also wrote her a card. So if I ever meet her in person, I want to give her this card. I carried it around with me in Korea, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to meet her. So, 저는 부모님을 미워하지 않습니다. 한국 문화와 미국 문화가 다르다는 것을 이해합니다. 저는 저를 입양시켜준 그 용기에 감사합니다. 다만 저는 언젠가는 생부인 당신들을 만나고 싶어요. 직접 얼굴을 맞대고 보고 싶습니다. 연락 기다리겠습니다. 감사드립니다. So it's okay. You know, it's okay. And I can wait as long as you need to. I understand that things are different in Korea than they are here. So whenever you are ready, I will be ready to go back to Korea because for sure I'll be back.
Okay, Sarah. Now you briefly mentioned that you want to go back. What's your next plan? Where's your journey going? Tell us.
So there are some like things I did not get to do in Korea that I had planned because unfortunately I got COVID when I was in Korea. Towards the end of my trip, luckily, so I had to quarantine.
Okay.
You know, my one friend, she was her aunt wanted to make me dinner because her aunt and her are both from Geje too, and their last names are also Moon. But I had to tell her I couldn't come because I had COVID and my friend had COVID. And also my boyfriend came to Korea for me, but then I tested positive for COVID when he was on the airplane. So he never ended up even leaving the airport because he came back home. So I would like for us to go to Korea together someday, so that we can experience some of these things, because he said he didn't want to explore Korea without me. And in addition, all of the Korean people that I had plans to see again when I was in Seoul, I had to not see them. So they're all like, you should just come back next year.
Okay.
So I don't know if it will be next year, but I definitely will be back at some point.
Sounds like a good plan. All right. And obviously, for sure, we keep our fingers crossed for you. And also, our heart goes out to all those people who helped you out in Tongyang and Goje. So it'll happen again. And the good news is coming up. All right? Thanks for your time, Sarah. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. 감사합니다.
자, 통영에 다녀왔다고 했습니다. 이번 여름입니다. 몇 주 전인데요. 세라진 쌀미는 문정현 씨의 이야기를 여러분들에게 들려드렸습니다. 저도 개인적으로 통영 분들과는 인연이 좀 있습니다. 구체적인 내용은 긴데요. 친절하고 또 정도 많고 의리도 있고 순박한 분들이라고 기억하고 있습니다. 문정현 씨가 통영에서 받았던 이런 환대와 호의는 아마도 문정현 씨의 본인뿐만 아니라 주변에 있는 많은 지인들이 듣고 또 기억하게 될 것 같습니다. 이 인기가 올라가는데요. 한국의 나폴리, 통영 시민들, 이웃들, 그리고 어르신들 모두 감사합니다. 저희 Looking for Mom Together를 대표해서 정말 감사하다는 말씀 드리고요. 거제 시민들 여러분들에게도 감사하다는 말씀 드립니다. 다시 기회가 생겨서 우리 문정현 씨가 아니더라도 다른 입양인들이 통영이나 거제 방문을 하게 되면 똑같이 잘 대해 주시리라고 믿어 의심치 않습니다. 다시 한번 감사합니다. Looking for Mom Together는 아동권리보장원과 민주중앙일보가 함께 만듭니다. 저는 최인성이었고요. 이 영상을 다른 분들에게도 볼 수 있게 여기저기 퍼뜨려 주시는 것 아시죠? 예, 저희는 다음 영상에서 여러분들 다시 뵙겠습니다. 여러분 감사합니다.